Good morning, class 11 children of biology group. We again come to our chapter 4 called Kingdom Monera. And in this, children, let us pay attention to here, children, in this video. The last video we studied in detail about the cell structure of cyanobacteria. Also, we studied about the mucilage sheath of cyanobacteria, cell wall, cytoplasmic membrane. We studied, children, about photosynthetic structures. We studied about the intracytoplasmic inclusions that are included in the cytoplasm, and we saw their detailed characteristics of all the inclusions in the cytoplasm. We also studied about the reproduction types of cyanobacteria, the economic importance of cyanobacteria, which includes both the useful purposes of cyanobacteria and the harmful toxins produced by cyanobacteria. We also looked at a few characteristics of viruses, very general kind. Today we continue with some more descriptions of viruses. It is very important to note, children, and it is important from board point of view, that the viruses, are they living or non-living? These are the simplest and the most primitive organisms. What does primitive means, children? They are ancient or old, very old primitive organisms. An important thing to note about the viruses is that it is better to regard viruses as organisms which are intermediate, or they are in between, they are at intermediate stage between living and dead things. So viruses are organisms which have an existence between the living kind and the dead kind. To prove the above statement that I mentioned in this note, let us look first at the living status of viruses. Why they are called living? They have genetic material, DNA or RNA, which is present only in living things. Then the viruses mutate, or they can change their genetic material, and they can bring changes in themselves. For example, you have seen that the simple flu virus, it changed by combining with other genetic material into COVID-19, which is now so infectious that it has caused a pandemic to occur in all over the world. Then we see another living feature in viruses. They can grow in number, one after the other. Another aspect that we see in viruses that shows that the viruses are living is that they can be transmitted from one host to another. What is a host, children? A host is an organism in which the virus lives as a parasite. So the viruses, they are transmitted from one host to the other. Like it can be transmitted from bats to humans, or the viruses can be transmitted sometimes from other organisms. If we consume those organisms like bird flu, etc., they can be transmitted from the birds to humans. Then we see that they can multiply in a host. Outside, the viruses are not able to do anything. They look like chemical substances, but as soon as they get inside a host, they begin to multiply. Their numbers increase. Then another important factor, we see that they are living. They react to heat, radiation and chemicals. They show irritability to acids or certain drugs. They become irritable. Then we see that living viruses, while they are living, they bring about enzymatic changes in the vitro. What is the meaning of vitro? Which is outside a host. They bring about enzymatic changes. Then we see that viruses, they are able to infect and cause diseases in living beings. That's why things that which can infect are living. So viruses are living. Another aspect why viruses are living is that the DNA and proteins of viruses are similar in composition and structure to those of higher animals or higher organisms. Another very important thing that we see why viruses are non-living children is in following respects. They can be crystallized like ordinary chemicals, and these crystallized viruses, they can be kept in test tubes or in bottles stored in the lab. Then we see viruses are inert, and they when they are outside their host, they are inert, or they do not react with anything, or they do not multiply. They lie there as dead organisms. Then we see here example of COVID-19 virus. On the surface, it lies inert. Only once we touch it with hands and put it to our nose or mouth, it begins to attack the hemoglobin carrying part of the RBCs in our body, causing lack of oxygen and suffocation, and finally death, because we are oxygen starved. So COVID-19 makes us to die. Then we see that viruses, it has no cell wall, membrane or cytoplasm. So that is why it is dead, considered as non-living. Then we see that there are no cells or organelles, and there is no metabolism that happens by itself. So viruses are considered as dead. Then we see sedimentation of viruses is according to their molecular weight. Just like the non-living things or the chemicals, we see that viruses can be sedimented according to their molecular weight. For example, COVID-19 viruses are very heavy viruses that fall heavily to the ground. And so a precaution has to be taken, and it has been given by the health institutes also in our country, that we must disinfect our shoes and slippers that we wear on the road, and it is better to park our shoes or slippers at the entrance of our house only, near the outside door, and not to bring them inside. Then we see that another point which shows that viruses are non-living are that they are capable of any function unless they obtain metabolic products from the hosts in which they live or they become alive. They are dead outside the host. Then another aspect we see why viruses are dead: energy producing enzyme system is absent from within the virus. It cannot produce energy on its own. So we see here that these are some of the aspects. Then we see in table 7 here, let us look at some of the important milestones in the history of viruses. Let us take in 1880, Louis Pasteur, he discovered rabies, which is spread by viruses. Then we see in 1886, Adolphe Meyer, he found that the juice of tobacco virus is infectious. Then in 1892, D.J. Ivanovsky, he found that the tobacco mosaic virus can pass through bacterial filter, from which bacteria cannot pass, but through that virus, because they are sub-sized, sub-microscopic organisms. So D.J. Ivanovsky found that they can pass through bacterial filters. Then in 1898 we see M.W. Beijnerich. He saw that concept of contagium vivum fluidium was proposed by him. Then in 1898 we see F. Loeffler and A. Frosch. they told about the foot and mouth disease caused in animals by viruses. In 1915, F.W. Twart, he made the first viral infection of bacteria, that even bacteria can be infected by viruses. Then in 1917, we see a person by the name of D. Henel. He termed bacteriophage, and I have already told you the meaning of bacteriophage, the viruses which can infect bacteria or which can send their genetic material into the bacteria are bacteriophages. Then in 1938, children, we see F.C. Borden and N.W. Pry. They found that the chemical nature of tobacco mosaic virus, how it looked like. Then we see that in 1939, M. Debug found that viruses, they mutate, they change their kind from one kind to another. Then in 1946, W. M. Stanley, he found the electron microscope study of plant viruses. Then in 1949, J. Anders, he told about the cultivation of poliovirus. He in 1951, we see R.S. Schefferman and M.E. Morris, who discovered cyanophages. Then in 1957, J. Lindemann, he first successfully got the polio vaccination done. In 1959, S.G. Brenner, he saw that the T bacteriophage ultrastructure, how it looked like. In 1967, we see Diner and Raymer, two scientists, they discovered viroids, or the small particles of viruses. Then in 1973, O. Shaidovinsky, he found the discovery of viral cancer. Then in 1976, R.J. Shepard, he found the study of DNA of plant viruses. Then in 1979, we see D.E. Herby, L.A. Gorina and J.R. Cates. They told about the replication in Vaccinia virus. So we see that these are some of the classifications, historical classifications of various discoveries and things about the viruses. These are important, children. The scientists and their contributions are very, very important from board point of view. Then we see that the unique characteristics of viruses are given here. Presence of only DNA or RNA, nucleic acids, either of them can be there in a virus. Then we see they can produce themselves from nucleic acids. Then we see the virus don't show cell division. Then we see viruses use metabolic machinery of host cell to replicate. Then we see what virologists believe. The virologists, they believe that viruses are chemicals in test tube, but they are living beings inside their hosts. Then we see some generalized structure of a typical virus. If you look here, children, at this particular diagram, you see a typical structure of a proteinaceous sheath of the virus. Then you see inside the proteinaceous sheath there is the DNA of the virus. So a typical virus is seen here, which is a bacteriophage. That means this kind of a virus, it infects the bacteria. So we see here, children, there are several typical structures in a virus. Keep looking at this picture, children, as I described to you. Intracellular obligatory parasites. What are viruses? They are intracellular obligatory parasites. Then we see that they are self-replicating. They are non-cellular. They don't have cells in them. Then we see they are submicroscopic organisms which can be seen only by electron microscopes. Then we see that viruses, they lack organelles, they lack ribosomes, mitochondria, etc. Then we see that we use protein synthetic machinery of the host cells. Virus, they thrive on the host cells only. We see that the size of the viruses is from 20 to 350 nm, and the simple virus particles, as I told you, is known as a virion. So virion is a virus particle. Outside its protein code, this protein code is known as a capsid. What do we call the protein code outside, children? Capsid. And inside is the DNA or the RNA in the virus. Then we see that the protein subunits, do you see there these subunits are known as capsomeres, which are inside the capsid coat. Then we see capsomeres, they are arranged in a certain geometrical fashion. They forms a certain geometrical shape. Like in this particular virus, they are placed in a circular manner. Then we see, children, that virion contains only simple molecules of nucleic acids. Then we see number of nucleotide pairs in a molecule ranges between 1000 to 250,000. So many nucleotide pairs in a virus molecule are present. Then we see viruses contain, they are containing DNA, and such viruses containing DNA nucleic acids are called deoxyviruses, and those viruses which contain RNA nucleic acids are called riboviruses. Then we see three different kinds of viruses. We see plant viruses which have a simple stranded RNA. We see animal viruses. Now these animal viruses have single or rarely, that means sometimes, a double stranded RNA or rarely a double stranded DNA. This is in the case of animal viruses. In bacteriophages, that means viruses which infect bacteria, these contain mostly double-stranded DNA. So we see here the classification given here of plant, animal and bacteriophages. Then we see classification of viruses further. Viruses are classified based upon their hosts. Based upon their hosts, we can classify these viruses. For example, look here, children. We see that plant viruses, their hosts are various kinds of plants, which can be bryophytes. These plants can be pteridophytes like ferns. These can be gymnosperms. So the plant viruses can thrive in them. Then we see animal viruses which thrive in various animals, making them their host. Then we see bacteriophages, they infect bacteria as their host. Then we see cyanophages which infect cyanobacteria or the blue-green algae to make them as their host. Then we see viruses which are mycoviruses. By the name it suggests that fungi are infected by these viruses. Then we see mycoplasma viruses which infect hosts or mycoplasma, a certain kind of mycoplasmic organisms are infected by mycoplasma viruses. Then we see phycoviruses which, as the name suggests, infect algae as their host. So these are some of the classification of viruses that we see. then we see, children, that this classification is also important from a board point of view. We must at least know a gist of it, children. Then we see that modern system of classification of viruses is based on following criteria. This criteria of modern classification of viruses was given by Lewolf, Horn and Turnier in 1962. And the criteria which they gave for classification of viruses was accepted by the International Committee on Virus Nomenclature. This committee was established in 1966 and it accepted the classification criteria given by Turnier and Horn. Here we see the committee gave these bases for classification of viruses: types of nucleic acids, whether DNA or RNA; molecular weights of viruses, according to that they are classified; size and shape of the viruses is the criteria for classification; symmetry of the viruses; number of protein subunits in the capsid or the protein capsule that is used to classify viruses; then diameter of nucleic acid oil that is used to classify viruses. Then we see presence of outer envelope of viruses; then intercellular multiplication in the cells of viruses that helps to classify viruses; temperature in inactivation of the virus, that means to make them inactive or incapacitate the virus. So according to that the virus are classified. Then we see method of viral transmission, how the virus it is transmitted through various vectors. It can be wind, it can be water, it can be by coughing towards somebody, or it can be by touch of our hand that the viruses are transmitted. So according to this also classification is done. Then we see symptoms of viruses on host plants, what the viruses cause on the host plants, the damages that are caused on the host plants. According to that also viruses are classified. So we will continue the rest of the chapter from here. We finish today's video and conclude it here. Thank you, children. Have a good day.